What if you could help others to find the power to heal themselves, physically, emotionally, and spiritually?
When I started teaching my classes, it was in 2002, and I was just doing the past life regressions and contacting the subconscious part. But then as the time went on and we found how powerful this was and what we could do with it, a lot of the students began saying, you know, advanced past life regression doesn't really tell what it's all about. This is so much more than that. We think you should change the name. So it was a few years ago we decided to change the name to Quantum Healing Hypnosis Technique. And this is the healing technique that we've now been teaching it, well, since 2002, that's 12 years.
What if you could time travel with them, visit mythical places or angelic realms, other worlds, other galaxies? Help others to speak to their higher selves. You can. Dolores has taught thousands of people from across the world how to use QHHT, and now you can learn her method by going directly to dolorescannon.com. And don't forget to mention the discount code MORETALKS. Have you ever wondered, can you communicate directly with spirit guides, teachers, or non-physical consciousness, or even our higher selves? What would they tell us? My name is Kevin Moore, and since 2015, I started to practice a form of communication which is termed channeling. I have been interviewing experts on my talk show to find out, does life continue after we die? And can we communicate with those that have crossed over? With each expert I spoke to, they all had different ideas. Is there knowledge from the past which could be shared with the present moment? So I thought, why not just speak to the non-physical world directly through channelers around the world? And that's what I set out to do. They Call Us Channelers will take the viewers on a journey into the phenomena known as channeling. And my main goal with this docuseries is to bring a new understanding and awareness to channeling by looking within ourselves and asking, is it truly possible that we can all use this innate ability?
Susan Ashley. I am currently in Croatia, but I am normally based in Australia. My position is that I've been working for 35 years. I started off as a psychotherapist, and from that work, from my desire to help people, to genuinely know how to help people, I started to pray. And from those prayers, I started to get dreams, and in those dreams there was a woman, and she would tell me how to help my clients or patients, and so I would do it. I thought, this is fantastic. I've got this amazing resource, because when you come out of uni, you're not taught really how to connect with people or really how to troubleshoot your own emotions, because when you have someone sitting in front of you who's really in a difficult situation, you know what you've learnt on paper, but you don't know what that is in the physical, what it's like to sit in front of someone who's been so traumatized. So I struggled with that. I struggled with the emotions that I was feeling as a result. So I started to pray and get these dreams, and what I was told in the dreams really helped, just these different techniques that I hadn't learned before. And then one day I had this beautiful young woman sitting in front of me who, I still get emotional when I think about her. Sometimes you'd have these clients that you really feel there's a soul connection to them, and it really, the damage that happens to them really affects you. So she'd been seeing me for a while, and nothing was moving past a certain point. So I remember just sitting back in my chair and going, God, help me, please help me like this. When I opened my eyes, the woman from my dream was standing beside her and telepathically said to me, Susan, do this, this, and this. It's like saying certain words or triggering the person into something. So I did. And she had a major breakthrough that day. And I was very excited. And anyway, that started to happen more often, that this woman was appearing to me. And then I had this dream that, I was at someone's house and I was out of my body looking down, and I could see this white cloud above my head. I could see I was talking and there was light coming out of my mouth, and this other person was receiving what I was saying, but I couldn't get back into my body. So that was the dream. It was a very powerful dream. And after that, I got sick and I couldn't figure out what was wrong. No one could figure out. I had this beautiful friend of mine. She said, I went to this auric reader, like I'm a little bit like auric reader. Okay, so the backstory is that I always saw and heard spirit up until I was 15. And at that point, I begged them to leave me to be normal because it created a lot of problems in my life. And then it started again, just sort of slightly, when I was in my early 20s, but by now I'm 25, 24, 25, and it's just starting to I can't hold it back anymore. And I was heavily into, vegetarian, no alcohol, drinking tea, no coffee, all of this, staying strong and everything. And my friend said to me, this auric lady who reads auras. And I was like, lady who I was all about the mind, the why. I wanted to figure out why all this shit was happening to me and to other people. So I reluctantly went to this lady. I was very nervous, and I wasn't normally that nervous with something. And there was a part of me that wanted to turn around and go home. But anyway, I went. I walk into this lady's house, and there's 2 chairs and a fire. Didn't trigger at that point. She says to me, oh, just sit back and close your eyes and take a breath. And I'm thinking, why would I need to close my eyes? What's all this about? And this is a strange woman. I don't know her. She could have an axe. Because of the stories that I was hearing in my work, I was becoming very paranoid about being alone with people. So when I closed my eyes, honestly, I felt like someone pulled the top of my hair, pulled me from the top of my hair, pulled me out of my body, and I was in the dream. I'm looking down. I could see this light over the top of my body, and my mouth was moving, light was coming out, and the lady was having a conversation. And I was trying to get back into my body because I've always meditated. At uni, there was a course in transcendental meditation, which I did, because I always had anxiety. And you'll find that most psychics or sensitive people have high levels of anxiety. It's always odd. So I decided, my boyfriend at the time said, let's go do this meditation thing. So I had done that, and I had astral traveled in that, but knew that I could pop back into my body the moment I said body, and it wasn't working. Couldn't get back in my body. Anyway, eventually I get back in my body. I'm shaking. I'm freaking out. I said to the lady, I don't know what just happened. I couldn't get back in, She goes, it's okay. You've had an experience. I'll need to drive you home. She drives me home. 2 weeks I couldn't sleep. And after that, I started getting lost souls coming to me, hundreds of them. I didn't know what to do with them. And I was saying to my flatmate, what do we do? So we went to the church, we got holy water, that didn't work, we did all this silly stuff, Hail Mary and Our Father and everything. At the time, it didn't work because we really didn't know what we were doing, and we were doing it from fear, a place of fear. I believe that it works now because I'm not in fear, but at the time I was so frightened and exhausted. And then after about 2 weeks, the lady called me and she said, look, I'm in this private psychic group. This was in Sydney. We we have a group and we go around and we help people as a duty to the community, and we would like to invite you into the group and help you develop. And I was like, yeah, okay. And I was with them for a number of years, and we would, cleanse houses and everything. But I actually became so developed with that. And then I went on to study with a shaman privately who approached me. So all of my teachers, let's say, have approached me. They just came into my life and said, I'd like to help you. Come to me every week and, I'll help you to develop, because they would see something in me. And I was sort of like, I've always been very hidden and a very closed person. And people who meet me would think, oh, who is she? Because I don't give out much. I've even had other psychics say to me, you disturb me because I can't read you. And the reason they can't read me is I have a very strong sense of self, right? So my energy isn't scattered everywhere because of the studies that I did. It's not all over the place. And I'm not looking at a psychic battle with people. I did that years ago, the psychic battles and everything. And I've got a bigger third eye than you. I did all of that. And I just found it, what's it for? It's just a waste of energy. So I kind of maintained myself. And I also wanted to continue my work as a therapist. So eventually I combined the two. I was able to combine the two. And because of that, at that time, you're talking about the 80s, the 1980s. I mean, I was like ready to lose my license, basically. So I decided to remove myself from every association and just call myself a spiritual consultant. And that was it. I didn't do any channelings. I just a spiritual consultant. So here I am, this psychotherapist, but I've got all this psychic ability and I'm helping people. And people were coming to me from all over the world. I didn't even know how they found me. They would hear word of mouth because obviously there was no internet. There was nothing like this. So people would find me and they'd come and spend like a month or 6 weeks in Australia, and I would work with them on a regular basis. Some of them, they would have a shorter time and I'd block out a week and I would work with them every day for a week. And these were people who were clearly very wealthy, because, there's a perception that this sort of thing only happens to poor people in poor areas. It's not true. The really horrible satanic ritual stuff happens a lot with very wealthy people and their families. It's genetic. It's ancestral. It's, so you've got the black sheep in that family. They're the ones that would come to me. So I would, I've changed my name 4 times. I would live like 120 Ks from where I worked. I had my name, my electricity, my phone, everything in someone else's name. Because in those days, it was easier to do that than it is now. We could be hidden in those days. So I do have that energy of being hidden. And that has stayed with me because of the work that I did. I used to get death threats, all sorts of weird crap would go on. And if they found out where I lived, the psychic stuff that would go on in my home, you wouldn't even want to know, right? So when I had my son, that was when I broke her out of it. And I said, look, okay, I can't do this, one, when I was pregnant, and I can't do it while I'm with a child. I can't bring that energy home with me. I can't put his life in danger. So I stopped a lot of it, and I only would work with people on a lighter basis. And when I say that, I'm not being disrespectful to anyone who's had any sexual abuse, but for me, the lighter basis is, a one-time rape or, uncle fiddling under the table or something like that. I was used to working with a ritualistic situation that entailed demonic energies being attached to people through the rituals. So I have a very strong energy in the sense that not much scares me. people can tell me anything, and I kind of tune in it to look. I have a very precise frequency. So if someone's bullshitting me, I'll hit it. Like, so if I even see or hear someone saying a story about what happened to them, or, you know, off planets or whatever, I can know, oh, this person's mad, right? Because I've seen mad. There's an energy in a person's brain. It's like a frequency in the brain that emanates from their brain. It's biochemical. I sense that. I used to sense AIDS. I could sense people with certain diseases. Working with energy for so many years, you know, it's 35 years. I can really sense something. And I've been to hell and back with all of this. I've been my body bitten with bite marks on me, pushed downstairs with no one behind me, like literally die, bitch, hear the words in your head and bang, down the stairs. I've had all sorts of, you know, near-death experiences, all sorts of things. And so that's part of the reason my energy's been hidden, because you can't do this work, this sort of work that I've been doing, out in the open.
No, absolutely not. And, you know, you don't do many interviews neither. I think we spoke about this just before we started the interview, which is very interesting, right? But I understand why. So when we're talking about SRA, we're talking about, you know, obviously satanic ritual abuse. And I'm guessing some clients that came to you, you know, were, yeah, as you say, maybe had mental health issues. Some of them did, but you were able to sort of feel your way around that, and it was, you know, it was just something that you knew intuitively that you know, and obviously with your therapist skills as well, that, you know, that wasn't quite what they had experienced. So the whole mixture, I guess, of people.
It is a mixture, and sometimes people would come to me and say, you know, I went to this therapist, I was sexually abused, and I you know, apparently it was by my father, and I don't want to believe that. And I'll just tune and go, no, actually, this is your mother who was sexually abused, and it's like a covert abuse on you.
In a different type of way. Yeah. Narcissistic or whatever it is.
Well, she's holding the energy signature, but also the behavior of someone who's been abused, the way the mother brought her up. So there's this difference. And so I get a bit shitty sometimes with this whole new age thing, because everybody's been, you know, everybody's had this, everybody's labeled. And the other thing I dislike about it the most is this whole thing of, I'm not responsible for what happened to you. You're responsible for your reaction. Are you kidding me? You just bashed the person, ripped off all their finances, but they're the one with the problem? If that's not satanic, I don't know what is. You know, it's like, I think the term gaslighting has been going on for 30 years.
Yeah, I would agree in some respects, yeah, or longer.
Well, as long as I've been involved in that sort of new agey, I say, the reason I say involved is because I get the clients from that genre, right? And a lot of the time they don't like what I have to say either, because I'm a very practical person.
With the abilities as well that you've got, absolutely.
You know, and so for me, it's not about, we're not going to bash your mother right now and your father. They did the best they can. Let's just talk about what's happening. You know, why is this happening is a good question, but what can we do now? You know, how can we undo it? Because for me, what I'm seeing even in the genre of therapy, psychology, psychiatry, I've watched it grow. It's all about medications. So we don't look at the why anymore. We just medicate the symptom. I have young people coming to me saying, I can't cry, I can't laugh, I can't feel anything because I'm on these meds. Oh, darling, why are you on the meds? Oh, my father died in front of me 2 years ago, and then my mother was, you know, diagnosed with breast cancer 2 weeks after, and I'm an only child, and I was in shock and I couldn't cope. Well, duh, yeah, of course you were in shock, but why have they got you on antipsychotics?
I mean, sometimes we need the medication, don't we? But then it can become addictive. And I mean, let's
if we're not going to blame the doctors as well, sometimes, right? Sometimes the client that come into even to the prescriber, to the doctor, they may be lying about some of the issues that they've got, and the doctor's there to help them. If he's not going to know the true picture, then, you know, on we go with the medication. Sometimes it's not always big pharma's issue. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I'm not saying that there's no room for medication. What I'm saying is there's no need to medicate a young girl who's grieving, right? You could give her a calmative to get her through the funeral, something to help her sleep, to rest. But the most important thing is to listen to her grief, not shut her up.
And you are right there. There's some of this medication. It takes away the feeling part, doesn't it? It takes away the ability to go through that grieving process or whatever process you're going through. Do you know what I mean?
Yes,
it numbs that out.
For 3 years. So it took 3 years for her to grieve her father because she's completely numb.
And she was unaware of that as well, yeah, because, you know, hey, take this tablet. Yep.
Yeah. So that's what I mean by we are not, as professionals, I'm just going to say it right now, not all, but most professionals are lazy. They're lazy. I can't tell you how many people say, well, did you speak to your therapist yet? Yeah. Did they offer you any suggestion like how to relax, or do they put you through any sort of like conversion therapy, or you know, the different techniques that we have? No, they didn't do anything like that. I'm like, okay, well, why wouldn't they? Because they're lazy. They just want to get their money, let the person sit there, write them a prescription.
Well,
away you go.
It's a combination, isn't it, sometimes as well? Absolutely. That's definitely included in some.
Honestly, Kevin, I was having a conversation about this earlier. People think that you can work like an office worker, like 9 to 5, 7 days a week. No, when you work like this, and this is why when you see these therapists that are working 9 to 5, you know, 8, 10 hours a day, and you can see they're exhausted anyway. But if you're working properly, there's no way you could do that, because you maybe would be, I can work 3 days a week. That's it. Because otherwise I'm not clear enough. I'm not the right vehicle. You know, if I'm exhausted, I can get confused. I can make a mistake. I don't want to do that. So if I want to be present, I need to be calm. I need to be relaxed. I need to be energized. I need to be well rested, so that when you come to me, I'll sit on the floor and cry with you. I do things like when people have been severely abused, taking their power back is something it's a physical thing. And you've got a grown man and I'm pushing up against his body. That might sound abusive, but he's got to push back. Right? That takes a lot of my energy to do that. I'm like, tell me what, you know, like, say no to me, because they don't know how to say no. Touch me. So you know, when a person has been, I'll just give you a little example. When a person has been physically overpowered, they, in their body, in every cell is a registration of, I have no power. I can't say no. And so, of course, they get jobs, they work endlessly, they can't say no. You know the whole story. So how do you get that out of their body? You don't kumbaya it out, right? Don't, peace, love and light. Yeah, I'm into peace, love and light, but that doesn't get it out. You've got to make a connection with their physical body to push it out. You know, I might get them to chop wood, go for a run, crouch down and scream their guts out. This is physical shit, you know, like.
No, absolutely. And what you do is very unique as well. So you stopped the SRA work in a sense. Did you ever go back to that work then?
Well, I did, but I stopped it when my son was born. And but I then I get, even now, I still get people. So I stopped it for a while, and what I focused on then was something very light. And I basically focused on women executives who had burnout, right? So that was very, very interesting. for me. Then I moved into working with families with children with difficulties so that they could, I had a very unusual way of doing it. Okay, so they would come and stay at my house with me. Oh, it's really weird. So the whole family would come and stay at my house with me for a few days. I didn't work with the children. I worked with the parents. Parents would come and say, there's something wrong with my child and you need to fix my child. And I go, well, there's something wrong with you because the child is a manifestation of you. So you come to my house, kids can play together or whatever, and as you change, you'll see your child will change. And it's exactly what happened. So I did that for a while. And then when my son got older, I gradually went back into working with, sexual abuse victims. And I still got SOA even, just recently, actually.
Well, it's a very, very heavy subject. I mean, and
I don't do it a lot.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure. I mean, tell me if I'm wrong. I'm sure if SRA is as I want to use the word large. That's not the right for it, but it's if it is so prevalent, right, in a sense, then I wouldn't be surprised if it's sort of even in the religious circles as well. Do you know what I mean? Different religious organizations, maybe. I'm sure you've had all sorts of people come to you with different stories.
I know it is. I know the areas that it's in. I know it is, and it has grown because it's like a pyramid. Like when I started 35 years ago, I felt there was only a few, but you got the person at the top, they're abusing people, and those people then abuse people. So it's become a big pyramid. So now you've got a lot of people who are sort of like hooked on it, but it's also been strategically done. Like there's a lot of perversion out there that a lot of people don't notice, like the sexualization of children, teenagers, this sort of thing. And what, through all that, like I know it's all horrible and everything, and it's not good dinner party conversation. Which is why I keep a lot of things to myself. So, but what I've learned from that is something quite powerful, actually, and that is that your sexual energy is the same frequency as creative financial energy. And when you look at powerful men, very wealthy men, they're highly sexual a lot of the time, or they're sexually perverse. So they connect the sexual energy with the power of money. And if you look in history, sex has always sold things. Pretty girl, muscly guy, it's always sold things. It's made a lot of money. So sexual energy and money are very connected.
Obviously, you're very open to the spiritual side. I'm going to say that's just a word I'm going to use there. Yeah, I mean, the life in what's another word for spiritual? What am I trying to say? You're connected to the idea that we're more than our body. In a sense, you channel. You've got this ability to tune into something else, an energy of something that we came from and go back to. We call it all sorts of words, don't we? But I'm guessing when you cross over, maybe there's not even a word for it there. Who knows, right? Or whatever crossing over really is, right? Whatever this is, right? I've interviewed a lot of people, though, right, who talk about the destiny of a soul, the soul's destiny, the soul's choosing, that souls, choose maybe families, souls choose certain scenarios, maybe with free will, right? And that, our soul is guiding us, even though we think we've got the free will sometimes, there's something pushing us to do something sometimes, that something, whatever that you want to personify the soul as, but it knows what's best for us, maybe. How does that fit into the work that you do as well, of the kind of work that we just discussed as well?
Well, that's a good question, because I've obviously spent a lot of time deep in thought around that. Because when you're witnessing day after day people whose lives that have been completely decimated, you have to ask that question. So what I discovered was there's various different answers. Some people are stalked by beings because it's a sort of like a karmic retribution, or stalking. They've been a slave before in a previous life, and it's just like, this is the oath that I made, and it's continuing on. But most of the time, when it happens with children, there's something that's very unique about that person's light and their abilities, the child's light and abilities. And they have a very strong connection to what I call God. You know, people have various ideas of what God is, but for me, I just say God force, you know, to that light. And the idea, I understand the idea of the dark is to sever that connection. They want to sever that connection. So they do all these horrible things in an effort to sever that connection. And some people, they just never sever it. And some people, they do. The ones that they don't sever it are the ones that would never do that to another person. They won't repeat it. That's why you get people who've been a bit, you know, you might have certain members in a family and 3 of them were abused. One never abused, the other 2 will go on to abuse and do the same. There's a difference in their frequency. We could call it a more evolved soul. They have a higher frequency of light that is already made the decision to be connected to that light, to stand within the light, to speak the truth of the light, to shine the light on the planet. Those that don't make that didn't make that decision, they may be younger souls. They actually are in both camps. So on one hand, they want to be a nice person, but on the other hand, they are easily manipulated in the sense of they'll do anything for money, or they'll address their cravings, like, because look, we all get the devil in our ear. It's an initiative. We all get it, you know. You see someone walking up the road and out of their pocket they drop $20. Now, this is a perfect example. We get initiations from God or our guides or whatever you want to call it. And there's various different initiations that happen. So that $20 falls out. You could go, a lot of people would go, oh, great, he just lost $20. Fine, God's giving me a gift. How wonderful. I hear, you know, people come to me, oh, I just got $20. This guy just like, what an idiot, you know, blah, blah, blah. And I think, oh, okay. So, but if you pick up the $20 and you give it to the guy and say, hey, you just dropped this, you pass the initiation. It's an initiation of temptation to greed. So people who've been sexually abused, or people who've been physically abused, or, you know, abused verbally from their parents without, they know it's wrong. So when they see a child and they choose to do it, and then they justify it saying, well, it was done to me, I had, you know, what do I, they knew before they did it, it was wrong. And they made a choice to do it. They didn't grow, because we're here to grow. And if you stay at the same level and remain abusive in whatever way that is, you haven't grown.
Yeah, because that could be adults, you know, abusing other adults, just even verbally. Do you know what I mean? It could be so many ways that you could look at that. But do you think that the soul, before it comes down or it comes into this existence, if that's even what happens, right? It seems to be, it feels right to say that, but, you know, unprovable, right? But if that was the case, then the soul knows what it's potentially letting itself in for, with the free will to go into that as well.
Well, it does. In some cases, I've worked with parents where their child has sacrificed itself for the mother to grow. In other words, the child's being beaten by the father and is literally screaming in pain so that the mother wakes up.
Yeah, that's so deep, isn't it? I mean, it's yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
It's really horrible.
Yeah. And then when we go home, if that's what I'm just using a word there. Maybe it's home, or maybe there's levels are beyond levels that we can even imagine, right? But when we go, we're all going to transition in death at some point, right? But when we do cross over, again, just I'm using words here, they're just words, right? It's all, it seems to be the case that those that have come back to talk about it's, you know, there is no judgment. You're judging
That's
yourself
right.
when you're over there. The worst person to judge you, really, isn't it? I suppose, or the harshest critic, it could be said.
Well, that's where religion has been a denouncer of God, because religion speaks about it all punishing God, you know, the fire in hell and all that guilt. If you go to the Catholic Church, I am guilty, please forgive me, up and down from the kneeling, you know. And why are you affirming that every Sunday? And you know, that doesn't happen when you die. God's not sitting there going, and you did this and you did that, and so you're only going to get a quarter of what you were meant to get. It's bullshit. It's just bullshit. And you know, the only people who are espouting it are people who want your money on Sunday.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
No, I don't have a good look. I know some lovely Christian people. I know Muslim people, but they're not strictly adhered to all that fire and brimstone and all that stuff. But I just think that religion is a separation from God, because it says there is someone else that will get you there, and you have to take these steps. Yes, you do have to take certain steps of initiation, but God gives them to you freely. You don't need ceremony.
I see more and more people now. I suppose I should say I speak to more and more people now that are not, you know, they don't use the word New Age. That's a sort of yeah. I don't see that word as much in even in the interviews that I'm doing more and more with people. There's a lot of people breaking away from, you know, trying to break away from it. I guess I know it doesn't do anything for me in a sense, right? And we've got to use some words, but there is less and less of that. I mean, I don't know if you see that at all.
I do, because I mean, I've kept away from it for many years, but people put me in that category because of the way that I work, you know. Oh, you got to be ragey. No, actually I'm not. But I am seeing it, because it's like anything. The veil is getting thin, so the truth is coming out about everything. And one of the things that I couldn't stand about the New Age was this constant obsession with being positive all the time. You know, you're not allowed to have a bad day. You're not allowed to be upset. And if you are, then, you know, keep away from us. You kind of like the devil incarnate. We don't want to create with you because you're upset. Well, what about asking the person why they're upset? You know, most of the time, if I'm talking to someone and they're a bit cranky, like, you know, you go into the post office or the bank or whatever, and then you can see the person's a bit like this, and I just look at them and say, "Are you having a bad day, love?" And they suddenly, yeah, you know, blah 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 blah, and then they calm right down, and then it's like, "Have a nice day." Oh, have a nice day. And you can see it's all gone because someone took the time to connect. You know, it's like.
Absolutely. Thank you for everything you've said so far as well. And I know we've got so much to talk about, and I appreciate us just going over time here as well. So thank you for that. So if I was to say to you, with all these years of experience that you've had and all the wonderful work that you've done and still continue to do, what is the purpose for all this, do you think? Why are we here, do you think? Or do you feel?
I think people are basically, we're all here for the same reason. We're all here to grow, to, in a way, find ourselves within a physical body, because physical is the last stage of any matter, right, of any energy form. It's the densest form of energy. So if we can hold God in that space, within that physical frequency, then, you know, we're at a higher place within ourselves. So I actually remember speaking to my guides before I entered the physical body in this lifetime. I have a full-on memory of it. And I used to say to my mother in particular, "You're not my mother. I don't come from here." You know, I used to say this sort of stuff as a kid. But I think everyone has different levels of what they're meant to learn. Everyone has a different mission. My mission, personally, I think is about freedom. And it's about freeing people from darkness, whether that darkness is bad words that have been said to them, emotions they're carrying on from their family members or ancestors, or freedom in any situation. So mine's about freedom, freedom to create, freedom to feel at peace with yourself. But then other people, it might be to teach people about love. You know, some people it's about bringing beautiful music and art that brings about a soothing in the emotions. So I think we all have different, but the core is to bring the essence of yourself into who you are in a spirit into the physical. And when we do that, the world's going to be amazing. Because I've had experiences, some very incredible spiritual experiences, gifted to me, I think, because I can't make them happen, they just happen, that have shown me what it's like to live in a world where you feel connected. And people talk about, oh, we're all going to have telepathy. You know that one. We're all going to be telepathy. We're all going to be, you know, and I'm like, yeah, we are. But it's not what you think it is. Not that you're able to read people's minds and manipulate them with that. It's to that level of telepathy, because I've experienced it, is a full body telepathy. And it's like I can like our energies are going to merge and feel something, but I'm only going to give you what I want you to know about me. It's not like you get to get everything, like all of my knowledge, all of my pain, all of my experiences, all of my language skills, all of this. No, you get what I'm willing to give to you. It is not meant to be an invasion. It's meant to be a showing of the self, a deep. But you can only do that when you feel vulnerable with someone, when you feel safe. And I think the biggest problem we have, even in physical relationships, like intimate relationships, is safety and security. You know, men don't feel safe talking to women. Women don't feel safe talking to men. You know, that's a whole other ball game. But, you know, I think the telepathy thing is really telling. And what I'm noticing more and more people are saying to me, I'm feeling very, like I'm hearing words, I'm sensing things from people that I didn't normally do. So I know it's waking up. I know it's waking up. It is waking up, but it's coming through us actually allowing ourselves to be more connected to ourselves and be vulnerable, right? So I think that's the whole thing. It's like a surrendering to God. I mean, obviously through channeling I had to surrender. That took me years to be comfortable. You know, particularly in my work, it was like, well, where does Susan fit in? Like everybody was me talking about Kassandra, not Susan, and I was very prideful. I had an ego, you know. I was like, no, I've done it all these years, and no.
Right. And Kassandra is who you channel as well, which we're going to get into. I know people have been watching this, and there's a lot of things that there's a lot to your work, and I don't even know if we can even compound it into one show. I don't think we can do. There's so much, you know. This is 35 years in the making, right? You know, there's only so much we can put in. I should just ask you as well. What is your website, Susan?
It's lovelightandtruth.com. Simple. That's what Kassandra says when she comes through. Love, light, and truth. One of the things that I'm doing, so it's just lovelightandtruth.com. One of the things that you know, she asked me to do, I just started last week. I do when Spirit tells me to do something, I do. I mean, I do other work, but when they tell me to do something, I do it. So she asked me to do on YouTube, which I'm not very comfortable about doing, but anyway, I'm doing it. On Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Paris time, I do a live healing for anyone who wants to be involved. And those healings go off the group, but they also go off what I've been told is the important thing to work on. And I just do I have a little chat, what we're going to do, what I need from you. We work together because you have to be involved in your healing. And then I do different techniques. I've got lots of different techniques that I use, and I'll do that. And I'll leave that up for 24 hours for people who can't be awake at that time. And then I remove it. There's a reason for that, because I understand energy so well. So when you do a group like that, everybody gets connected. This is what normally happens with anyone who's in service. You get connected to them, whether it's your psychiatrist, your massage therapist, your healer, your sound healer, your dentist. Well, not so much. People don't really. But, people like that. So you make a cord, you make a connection with them. And then normally they will say to you at the end of the appointment, so shall I book you in for next week? Right? I never do that. Never have. I never do it. People say to me, when should I come again? And I say to them, when you feel it. Right? When you feel it. So I'm the same with groups. So if I send out a cord, I'll be out there feeling everyone. Okay. When it's finished, I disconnect. So the idea of releasing it, leaving it up on YouTube means I'm leaving the energy there that we as a group have created. That beautiful positive energy is then going to be harnessed by YouTube. No, thank you. We're giving our energy away to people all day, every day. And if we actually bring it back to ourselves, you'll find that you'll be more creative. Your own abilities will grow. But because we're all out here, because that's the way the world has been masterminded, we just have to bring it back to ourselves. So I do a little cleansing at the beginning, bring everybody's energy back at the end. And I set it up that the beings and the collective energy will be there for 24 hours for anyone who wants to go through it. That's not live, and then I take it down. Then I remove it, and then the next week another one happens.
So that link's available on your website. We'll also link up the page where people can see that or find that in the description below this video as well. So we'll do that.
Just on my YouTube channel. I don't think I have a link to it. I don't know, but my husband does all of that.
Right. Okay. No, that's great.
So,
Well, thank you for that as well. And just tell us some of the services that you do as well, because you've got healing sessions, as you mentioned, you've got spiritual consultations. So just some of the services that you offer people as well.
Okay, so the healing is that's it. I do it online. I do it, mostly without video because, it's really interesting. I used to do a lot in person. I find the abuse, certain things I can only do in person. There are things that I can do without being in person. But if you do it without video, it's really interesting because I'm able to feel into the person more, because people can be read on their image, right? But when you don't have an image, it's kind of like you're tuning into a deeper part of that person. And so I'm finding that really interesting. And that's happened a lot since COVID, doing it online. So I'm finding that. But I can go in and I can work on energy signatures. Energy signatures are like groups of emotions that we hold from generations, which are fascinating. I'm always fascinated by different things, and I'm always learning new things. But and then, I might work on someone's fear or phobias, past life experiences. It just depends, I'm big on talking first. So I'll talk through everything. So, and then I'll say, okay, I've written it all down. I know exactly, here's your belief system. Here's the emotional resonance. This is the tie to this person, this is the tie to the past. And then we do it, right? Because I want to know all the connections.
That's interesting. Well, you've got the therapist there. You've got the psychic side there, and of course,
Uh,
then you also do the spiritual consultations. I believe, is that a sort of channel session as well? Is that
well,
separate?
I do channelings. I don't do many of those because they do take a lot of energy. But I do spiritual consulting, which is a reading. Yeah, you just tell me what it is you want me to look at in your life, and I'll tell you what I see. Now, the thing is, I see 2 or 3 different roads. So I can see the one where you're coming from your worst self, one where you're coming from, I'm okay, and the one, your best self. And I always try to steer people to the best self, but often in a reading, I'll say, I know you're not going to do that. You're probably going to do this, and this is going to be the outcome. But if you want this outcome, this is what I'd suggest you do. Because people have free will, and people have, look, people who generally come for a reading are not necessarily interested in a healing. They only want information. And information is not knowledge. Knowledge is when information has hit the body and it's physically resonating in you. It's a second nature. Information is, let me look that up. Oh, I read that somewhere. That's really good. But knowledge is when I know something, right? So most people want information because they want a quick hit. They want a quick high. They want, oh, yeah, she said it's all going to be good. Thanks, them. I'm telling you now, it's not going to work unless you heal or look at or clean up or have this conversation and take these steps. Otherwise, it's not going to happen. They don't hear that because what they wanted to hear. And often, like I had one woman who came to me for, I think it was a healing or reading or something, young woman, and it just comes into my mind. And I didn't see her for a while anyway. She comes back and she's got these flowers and this present. I said, what's this about? And she goes, well, I need to apologize to you. And I said, why? And she said, well, when I left last time, I thought you were full of shit. And I just thought this woman's crazy. And she said, I badmouthed you to a lot of people. And then I realized you were right. And everything that happened between now and then has proved to me that you were right, and I'm so sorry. I couldn't believe it. I said, well, you didn't tell me. You didn't have to buy me anything. You didn't have to tell me.
Yeah. Well, that's very sweet of her to do that.
It was sweet. But that will happen because people, when they go away, they hear only certain things. And so when they're listening, they're now thinking and they're not listening to the rest of it. So they're stuck on this sentence and they don't go any further.
Yes, yeah, because it's what they want to hear. That's right, yeah. Because
Right.
yeah, and like you say, you have the free will to change that, but the energy is so strong where you're going right now. This is where you're being poured into as well.
Yeah.
And sometimes I think as well, if we do go off our path in a sense, I think we are brought back to it.
We are always brought back. I call them pillars of time, So we're brought back to this same pillar. We can go off the road a little bit, but the opportunity comes back. When people say to me, oh, I lost the opportunity, oh, don't worry, it'll come back. It's a stamp. It's meant to happen.
And you also offer, I believe, group channeling sessions. Not that you always do that, but that you do that as well. So there's a number of services on your website. We're going to link that all in the description below. But I would go check it out because it's. You've even got courses on there as well. Well, you've got one course on there, but I'm sure there may be other courses.
I do a lot of courses. I just don't put them on there because. I don't know. I'm odd like that.
Well, this is you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. Yeah. And the courses is just a tiny bit.
And how I do that is I send out an email to everyone. I don't advertise, right? if you're on my mailing list, I will send you an email and you'll get the knowledge. I will do, like last year I did a group for SRA and sexual abuse victims. I do them for free. A lot of the groups I do for free. And I do them as, quietly. I don't advertise them because people don't want to be advertised if you've had that experience. You don't want some people coming on board just for curiosity. And in fact, the last one that I did, I had to kick out 2 people. And before they even got in. I said, no, you're just there for curiosity. Maybe you want to learn some techniques or whatever, but this is not a sideshow, honey. Have some respect, you know? So I can be a bit harsh.
Well, some people need it sometimes, trust me. And you do, I mean, you've said this before, but you do sometimes for people offer a sort of pay as you can as well, if they are struggling, because we do live in different times right now as well. All of us do.
So that's what the group healing's about on YouTube. It's pay what you can, you know. So people can do that. They can write to me and say, look, I'm struggling with it. If I get a sort of like a consensus around something, I'll focus on that. But usually I'm quite tuned in to the group. I'll get a message that day, you know, oh, do this. Oh, I was going to do such and such. No, you need to do this. You know, whatever. So
and you are about helping people to find their purpose as well. I know that. You know, you want people to be abundant. You've said this before as well. There's so many people, and this is so true. There's so many people in this field, you know, looking to, you know, that have had an awakening, you know, and they're now, you know, trying to get into their purpose, or they're on that beginning part of their journey. And I think making money in this field, I think for some people it feels wrong, and it shouldn't do. It should not. You know, we're here to be abundant, aren't we? Regardless of the times that we live in as well. And abundance is different for different people. I know that.
Well, you know, that's a really important thing. I do a free meditation on Zoom on Saturday mornings, and a lot of that is about abundance. We've had incredible miracles happen. And the reason I started the healing group is because what I understand from all of my years is the more clear you are, the more abundant you are, because that's what sticky things are holding you back from your abundance. That's a low vibration. There is such a thing, and I tapped into this myself. I've won lotto twice. I mean, I've had some incredible things in my life financially, had nothing to do with my work.
Right. Yeah. Right. Mm.
So, and that is that there is a plane of existence called the abundance plane that you can tap into, right? And this, it's fascinating for me, because I see dimensional realities as one thing, and then there's planes of existence within those dimensional realities that we can actually tap into. But the issue is that people, if they're trying to tap into it, but at the same time they're thinking, I hate rich people, money is the root of all evil, well, they're not really going to tap into it.
I'm not worthy, whatever it may be. Yeah.
So I run a lot of stuff on that, because, you know, even though you may decide, look, I have a lot of people that say, you know, I went and I did a Reiki course and I'm a Reiki master, and now I'm going to start earning 9 to 5 from that. And I said, it's not so easy to get clients, love. You know, you can't just quit your job and think that you're going to get 8 clients a day, 5 days a week. It's just not. Oh, they say to me, well, you don't know what you're talking about. You know, they'll say something like, okay, fine, do what you like. And then, you know, 4 months later, they're crying, oh, no money. You know, it's like, okay, right. Okay, so what I understand is that people who go into that spiritual part of themselves, because I did it myself, you forget the physical. And it's the physical where we manifest and create. And I'm just going to go there now. If you look at any satanic or really wealthy people who are involved in any of that, what are they worshipping? They're worshipping nature, the elements, earth, fire, air, water, ether, vibration. They are attuned to that. They use it. If you look at the church, what do you think they're doing? The whole ritual on Sunday is the elements, the incense, the candles, the holy water. It's all the body of Christ. It's all elements. And people who go into the spiritual world don't understand that. And they go out of their body constantly. And when you're out of your body, you're not grounded, so you're not going to attract finances. You're not going to attract physical manifestation. I know heaps of people that contact me on. They're really good at what they do, but they're not making any money.
That's a shame. But you know, it's a journey, isn't it?
It's a journey. And when I say that to them, they're like, well, they think I'm mad.
Yeah, because they're just not there right now. Yeah, right at that moment. Yeah, I get it.
you have to be grounded in order to imagine that you've got all this spiritual, beautiful light and energy, and you bring it into the physical. It opens up your auric field hugely, which means that you can hold more physical reality within your field. What you choose to hold is up to you. For me personally, when I discovered all of this, I thought, well, you know what? I'm going to use this, my ability to manifest, to help other people manifest. I use it for healing. I use it for, I have a lot of business people that come to me and they want to start a new business. What do you think about this? What should I, things like this. Artists, all sorts of people. So, you can use it to help others, but some people think, oh, I just have to how can I do it for myself? But actually, when you're helping others, you are doing it for yourself.
That's the thing, isn't it? When you do it for others, you're actually doing it for yourself. And it's not a selfish thing coming from that perspective neither, but actually being of service, it's actually, you get there in the end. You do get there in the end. Some of the greatest ideas and the biggest profit ones, if that's what you're into, right, have been when you're being of service to others. And I think a lot of things we don't realize actually are of service to others. You may not think that that's the case with what you're doing, but actually just take a deeper look at it. It probably is. And if it's not, then you just, you need to think about that. But you've got to be ready to come from that space. And maybe you're on a journey still. Do you know what I mean? Which we all are, but yeah.
You're talking about the abundance plane, and if you're in that sort of mind frame of spirituality or connection, okay, when people say to me, oh, can't you give me the lotto numbers? No, I can't. Why could I give them to myself? Like, why? I'm praying to God. I'm a good person. I don't understand. And I've told God that if I win this, I'm going to give it all away. And I'm like, okay, that's the ding, ding, ding for me, because why do you want this money? You want the money to be powerful with the people around you. So let's address how you feel powerless. And then the money. And it's really interesting. It's really interesting. I'm always fascinated by, that's why I study what I do. I'm fascinated
exactly.
by
No, of course. And it's your purpose as well. It's your passion as well. With the times that we live in right now, obviously there's a great change going on in the world right now. And what does Kassandra feel about that? I just want to sort of move this to Kassandra a bit as well. I know we're going to channel her. I know she, is wanting to come through, but for yourself, just in the conscious state, I mean, and with the work that you're doing, how do you feel about what's going on right now? And do you think this was, I mean, people always talk about the great change, don't they? And there's some truth to that, but we definitely, and there's always times of change, isn't there, in the world? There's always been, if you're a historian, you'll see that, do you know what I mean? But this is a unique time, I think.
It is. I'm getting a lot of memories lately of things that she told me years ago, right? Or groups. And she said, there's going to come a time when something will happen on the planet where you'll all have to come together. And there will be no separation. In order to survive, you're all going to have to come together. And she said, that's unity consciousness.
Interesting. So very briefly then, when did...
in which money is being held will change. I mean, that's when I got introduced to the abundance plane. She said that this situation where you got these few people with a lot of money and then people really, desperate and without any money. She said the hands in which money is held will change. Make sure you're one of those hands. Because the way that she sees it is that instead of, someone having billions, it gets watered down sort of thing, and everybody. So you can, she said you can, if you want to earn more, you can earn more. If you want a bigger house, you'll have a bigger house. But she said there's a lot of people who just want a simple life, right? So they should be able to have that simple life. And she said it's not about this Gasara, nobody working, getting money from the government. I can't stand it. I mean, that's a shill if ever I saw one. And, you know, no, because she said to me, well, who's going to then clean the toilets and do the garbage and all of this stuff? You know, oh, that's just ridiculous. If someone was paid $1 million, they'd just sit at home. I'm not going to work today.
Well, that term is yeah, I've heard that Jazara thing, and I know the culprit of one of them. I won't mention his name on this podcast, but
No, we won't.
yeah, you know, and that's so misleading to so many people that are in need of. Well, it's hopium, isn't it? Sometimes for a lot of people, which is very sad. But you know,
very sad. But that's what you were saying about being of service. We all have to give something in order to receive. And so, sitting on your ass, looking at your belly button, or, you know, I actually know people who have said to me, "Oh, I can't wait for it to come because I'm just going to sit and watch the ocean." And these people are very capable of doing a lot of things. And I'm thinking, well, what's going to happen to your world then? How disconnected are you to your neighbour that you will just sit there and do nothing for the rest of your life? I mean, how unfulfilling is that?
Very. Yeah, very, very. I mean, you wouldn't last long, would you? I mean, yeah, it's sad. You know, I mean, that is a problem in our field. But you know, I'm guessing. Well, you know, it's their journey. If that's what they want to believe, but they're being lied to. And they've lost their sense of discernment to believe in that as well. So just going to Kassandra, when did she come through? First of all, when was the first sort of contact?
She came through was when I told you, when I was in that lady's house. And she came through, but she was, I've got to tell you, she was the lady in the dream and the lady who's clients. She's the same woman. I'm getting goosies now. I can feel her. So she said to me early, very early, and I have it on my site, she comes from the white and the blue brotherhood, or the council. She calls them council. She said brotherhood is a human word, because we call everything brotherhoods because we put it only in the male gender. She said we have feminines there too, so you know it's a council. So she said she comes from the white, which means that she's a master. She comes from the blue, which is, the blue represents healing of the soul. So that's how come I got all these techniques to heal the soul. Right? So she has helped me with all of that. And so she says to me, I don't like the word master. You must never, ever refer to me in that name, because she said it denotes student, teacher, and that's a separation. And she said we will not have that, because we are here to teach unity consciousness. Now, the irony is this. I was an oracle on Delphi. You know the famous oracle Kassandra? Okay, that's me in a past life. That Kassandra was never listened to. She had a curse put on her that she would know the truth, she would say the truth, but no one would believe her. So it's a bit of like Kassandra says, she could come through under any name, but she's choosing that name. Yeah, because and I know it freaks me out, because a lot of people, that's what part of the reason I've been back in the background as well, right? Because of that whole thing. And like I said, you know, people will leave me and they'll go, oh, you know, I've had so many people come up to me and say, you know, I really thought you were full of shit. And then everything started to happen, and then I realized you weren't full of shit, you know. And so I can say that, you know. So anyway, she said to me, I come in this name because I want to undo your past, but I also want to come in the feminine form. I could come in masculine form because in spirit we're both male and female. I come in feminine form because it's the power of the divine feminine that will bring peace to the planet. It's not until men and women unite that there will be peace. And she said, because the authoritative voice is the male voice. If you look at most other channels, they're all male, like they're channeling male beings. And there are some channels that are very well known that I don't know what I don't know what's going on, but they're very well known because they channel a male. And males throughout our society are considered to be more authoritative, more powerful, more knowledgeable than women. We've always taken a back seat. So that's why she chose to come through in the divine feminine, and she chose the name Kassandra because of my own past, which is,
very interesting. Yeah, there's a lot to what you said there. Definitely the feminine, or the divine feminine. It's so important, and I see that more and more. And everything you've said there just resonates so much. So, okay, how easy is it for you to sort of go into that process then to channel, in a sense?
It takes me about a minute for her to come, because I'm an unconscious channel. I'm a trance.
Oh, okay, interesting.
So I leave my body and she enters. I have no idea what she says, so it's got nothing to do with me.
Well, this will be a demonstration of just the way it works as well for you, and
so it takes me a minute or so, and then
Sure.
she'll come.
Well, and I just want to say, even if she's got a message, and I mean, I've got a few questions, but whatever wants to come through, that's perfect.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll do that. So I'll just tell you, the first thing she says is that she's Kassandra. She comes in love, light, and truth. And is it acceptable to you? And you just say yes, because you've got to give her permission to tune in, to talk. And then it starts. So you can ask her questions. She will maybe say something, I don't know. Like I said, I don't know. Some people after channeling will say to me, I didn't ask any questions, but she answered all my questions.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
And then some people would say, yeah, I had to ask a lot of questions. And then Kassandra will tell me, yeah, but they're not in their power. I made them ask. Because people who aren't in their power need to ask for what they want.
I agree.
Right, so she's very clever. But I have to tell you, I did go to Delphi. I did. I've been to Greece twice, and every time I went, I'm telling you, it was like I was a Greek goddess. I could not pay for anything. I would go into a restaurant. Seriously, the manager would come up and say, "Oh, you're so beautiful. Please, this meal is on us." I would go to stay in a house, and they would say, "Oh, no, you're from Australia. Our cousin lives in Australia. You're for free."
You gotta love that. Well, that's a great energy to go there with. Do you know what I mean?
What did they go? Oh, yeah, So at the end, I was to have the money that I came with.
Wow. Did you feel as well that when you went there, did you feel that you'd come home?
I felt beautiful. One time I got a haircut. I never, look, I'm a Leo. I'm very sensitive about the hair, right? I never get my hair cut from anyone I don't know. But I did. I went into this hairdresser. I said to my friend, I'm getting a haircut. And this woman gave me this Grecian haircut with this everything. I looked amazing. I couldn't believe it. It was the best haircut I ever had. I just went in and did it.
That's funny. Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, thank you for sharing that. Yeah, no, yeah. Well, I will say there's something about people will feel this sometimes in their life. They go to a place, and it's like they never left, but they've never been there before.
Mm-hmm. And I like that in Australia as well. In Australia, I know I had a particular past life in Australia long before it was taken over, and I have really strong roots to the land there. So when I go to Australia, there's something that happens with me that just...
That's interesting. And is this, I know people are watching this like, come on, we want to see the channeling, but, just as soon as you're saying that, is this move to Croatia, is that, obviously that's been, you're guided to go there?
Oh, well, not just Croatia, other countries like...
Yeah, right. You've been to others.
Yeah, I'll go to this place and I'll go, and things work out okay. Yeah.
You've listened. You've always listened.
Well, I learned to listen.
Okay, right. Yeah, that's a good answer. Yeah. Yeah.
I know, because there was a big thing for me. I wanted to be in control of my life and my mind and everything else. So that's, I was the one who wanted to study everybody else's mind. Nobody studied my mind, So
What was that like when you let go? I'm so sorry to interrupt, but
I had to surrender.
surrender. That's a better word. Yes. Yeah. Okay.
Well, with Kassandra, there was just this, it's like a pressure, a pusher. I would sit on a chair feeling her trying to get me out of my body. I hold on to the chair. I'll be like this, no, leaving now. So I had to kind of surrender. And I tell you what the factor was. A friend of mine said to me, Susan, I have someone who could really use your help. And I think they need Kassandra, and I think you could really help them. So I started doing it to help people. It wasn't personal. So that was the start. And then a number of years later, I surrendered to God, which was even more powerful than surrendering to them.
Well, thank you for sharing that. I appreciate that. That will help people, that will. So thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know what it's like. You're on your knees when you do that. Everything's taken. Nothing left.
Well, oh God, I shouldn't be saying this to you, right? What you just said there just made me remember something. Isn't it a time as well? I mean, maybe I should be asking Kassandra this, but you'll recognize this as well. That you must be seeing more people stripped away of things, that their lives have just been taken out, they've been uprooted. I mean, you see it in the news, but I mean, just in people's lives that are not in a war zone, whether maybe they are in a sense, right, with what they're going through, but there's a lot of change going on right now, isn't there?
Absolutely. And I'm seeing the struggle also with the surrendering, because we've been conditioned as nations to only perceive things from the mind. I've got a very strong mind, but from it, when you have these spiritual happenings, you feel like you've gone insane, like your mind is cracked, and then you have to wrestle with it. Did I really see that? Did that really happen to me? And, it might happen again, and then you're like, oh my God, no, really. And it's interesting because my husband has experiences as well from being around me. He will have an experience and he'll go, oh no, that just really did happen.
Yeah. Okay.
So.
Well, thank you for sharing that. No more questions for me. Let's bring Kassandra through, and just thank you for everything you've shared in this interview. Appreciate that.
Oh, you're most welcome. So let's begin then. And we are Kassandra. We come to this day in love and in light and in truth. Is this acceptable to you?
Yes.
Good. So we understand that you have some questions. So please, you will ask a question.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for nudging Susan to have this interview with me, and to really orchestrate this in the background. So I appreciate this and this interaction that we've got right now. So thank you. In the times, Kassandra, that we live in right now, you've maybe talked about this through Susan before, but in the times that we live in, the great change that we're going through right now, and will there be a rise of the divine feminine, and what will that look like on the outside, and what effects will that have, do you feel?
That's a very good question. Well, the rise is already happening. Will there be? Yes, it's already happening within, but there is a perversion around it. Okay, so So let's explain it like this. Many of you are aware that there is an energetic shift, a certain alignment that's happening astrologically with the planets, and that is creating a doorway. It's like, you know, when you see these very old relics, or the pyramids, or what points of creation that you see, and you can see that at certain time of the year the sun will shine in a particular direction through a hole, something like that, meaning there is an astrological alignment. That's what they were set up for. These astrological alignments throughout time and history have been there to indicate an alignment with the universe, the Milky Way, whatever you want to call it. Let's just call it the universal frequencies. So when these astrological alignments happen, it means that there is a doorway that opens that brings down a frequency of light that then touches your spirit, which is then anchored into the physical. And so when you see the, let's say, opposing energies saying to you, oh, we have to put these chemicals in the sky to reflect the radiation coming off of the sun so that it doesn't get hotter, there's global warming, all of this. It's all a lie, it's all a ruse to stop that alignment's full effect. So the full effect is for you to go through an evolutionary upgrade. And the upgrade is coming in the physical, because the higher the physical frequency, the more of the spirit can be housed. These two energies must merge together and match. At the moment, you have a lot of people who are only in the physical or only in the spiritual. So only in the physical mental plane, only in the emotional spiritual plane, because these energies go together. The female, the divine feminine, is the feeling, emotion, spirit center. It's represented by that, one could say. And the male is the mental, physical aspect of creation, right? And these two go in perfect harmony. They are beautiful. They can create anything when they are in harmony. So what have you got right now? For thousands of years, you have a disharmony, because the divine feminine, what is the divine feminine's primary role? Is to receive, isn't it? It's receptive. Okay, so what does she receive? She receives guidance, inspiration, messages. Does she have the physical brawn or the mental prowess to create that? Maybe not. No disrespect to intelligent. We're not saying that doesn't mean the woman's not intelligent, right? Because there has been a schism placed within the psyche of men and women, a disruption that has created conflict, competition. Well, I'm just as strong as a man. I'm as mentally prowess as a man. Oh, yes. Well, you know, I can love and nurture just as well as a woman. You know, it's ridiculous, isn't it? There is this separation that's been deliberately created to keep you apart. You are looking at the negative side of each other and being competitive and comparing, rather than uniting, connecting, and creating. That's what's meant to happen. So with this alignment comes an evolutionary leap in the physical body. That's why some people are having physical manifestations of certain things, right? So what do they want to do? They want to genetically modify your physical body so that you don't go through that evolutionary shift. So that's a bit of a battle that's going on. And how are they doing it? Many different ways they're doing it. So this dark side is very aware of this grand alignment, of this shift that's happening, and they are trying, and we use the word trying, they're trying to stop it. But we would say they're not going to be able to stop it. Because, we tell you why, because let's just use the word God, God force, God's light, creates everything, both dark and light. Dark has a reason for being, otherwise it would not be present. So there are certain laws that come under God's laws, universal laws that govern both dark and light. And these laws have been broken right now. And one of the biggest laws is free will. And we would say, how many people have given away their free will to participate in something they chose not to, they didn't want to do, but they had to do it to keep a job, to earn money, to help their family, to do things that they needed to do. So it wasn't their free will, not 100%. They said it was that or nothing. So that's not free will. So the divine feminine is awakening. Why? Because within the principle of the divine feminine is not just the receptivity, the ability to receive actually another spirit through their physical body, to grow, to receive a child, and have these two things merge as it's coming out of the physical body is quite extraordinary. Just because the woman is a woman in this lifetime doesn't mean that she's going to be a woman in the next lifetime. So we cannot say that she is, we cannot separate her and say that she is so special. We don't want to say that. What we're saying is that every one of you has had the opportunity to be in a feminine body and have that experience. Right, that's what we're saying. So, so what other gifts does she have, which are very powerful? The gift of forgiveness. We see that through Mother Mary, of course, right? The gift of compassion, the gift of understanding, the gift of healing, the gift of creating, giving birth to something, right? Why would she have the gift of forgiveness and compassion and understanding? Because it is only through that gift, that vibration being present on the earth. The gift comes from the universe. It is laid present on the earth through the physical manifestation of a body that then emanates it out. And this is what's needed between religions, nations, cultures, political preferences, gender preferences. All of that is needed right now. The sacred divine male has another gift. And both sides' gifts have been, in a way, abused, turned in, distorted. We would use the word distorted more, right? Because the divine masculine, honesty, integrity, protection, provision, physical strength, creation, intellect, divine masculine. And how is that inverted? Well, for centuries, men have been, because of their physical prowess, sent to kill other men. Right? The scar that's held in the genetic composition of the physical body of the male, is that of killer? Horrible. When you are divine architects, you are divine creators of cities. You are divine inventors to purify water, to travel, to clean the air. You see what we're saying here. And these things have been distorted. And this time is about replacing you in the original frequency, releasing the distortion, and upgrading you. It's about evolution, upgrading the physical body, which is why people are, getting certain ideas about diet, about exercise, about where they live, what they breathe, what they drink. People are becoming very conscious of that. But they're thinking, well, maybe it's for my health. But yes, but maybe it's also for your evolution. So the presence of the feminine has been locked away for centuries, because without the ability to forgive, to have compassion and understanding, you can have war. When you have, if you look at magnets, for example, you have the positive and negative side of the magnet, which represents the male and the female. So if you get two sides of the magnets, which are the positive side, which is the masculine side, right? You try to put them together and they clash, don't they? They go like this. So what's that? Too much masculine energy fights. There's war. It's a problem. If you do turn it over and you have two feminine, they can't come near each other, so nothing gets done. You understand? So you hear many men complaining, oh, she didn't really do that much because she was supposed to do the groceries, but she ended up by going out for coffee with her girlfriend. And she did this and she did that, but she didn't do this. Why? Because when there's too much feminine energy, nothing gets done. That's the difference between the male and the female psyche, right? So the male has the list in the morning of things to do. He comes from the mind. He does it step by step. A friend calls him, hey, do you want to go have a drink? Yes, but after I finish this, right? The woman has the list. Her friend rings her, hey, do you want to go for coffee? Oh, yeah, sure. She drops the list. You see? Self-focus. And then you say, the poor woman says, oh, I can't multitask. I can't focus. I can't, all of this. Well, of course. That's the feminine principle. Too much feminine, nothing gets done. Then when you place the masculine and the feminine together, it sticks. And it lights the torch, right? So now you know that it is the principle of masculine and feminine that actually creates energy. What's your biggest problem on the planet at the moment? Energy. Why isn't it these two things have been brought together? Because you can't monetize it. Because it's actually free. So you have the power to do that. That will come about at a later date. But so why would you remove the divine feminine and put it away? You have cultures upon your planet where the women are not seen. You have so many women who are not present, who are told they are worthless. They are less worth than a goat. Yeah, they're not even worth a goat. A lot of women are told they don't have a spirit. Did you know in the Catholic Church they were only deemed to have a soul 200 years ago? So they were soulless, but the animal had a soul. In a lot of religions, the woman's only job is to get the man to heaven. We're talking 7-day Adventists, etc. So the woman's role, whether you see it as simply in the cultures where they're not seen physically, they're not seen in other cultures where they are seen physically because they're put in the background. So without that frequency, you get nothing. You get nothing. It's either this or nothing. You get nothing. The light's not turned on. That goes the same for you as an individual. So if you come in divine feminine form, your first, let's say, opening is through the feminine. You must understand what it is to be in the divine feminine and accept that. But do they? Oh, I'm ugly. Oh, I'm too fat. Oh, my breasts are not big enough. Oh, my eyes are like this. You know, everybody wants to change it to be the person in the image. So they are hating themselves, loathing themselves, berating themselves. So how is that divine feminine? And if you do come across a woman who loves herself, well, she's nasty, right? So you have that side of it where the women's, it doesn't matter which way you look at it, they're not happy with themselves. So it's being suppressed. We could say the same for the male, right? We could say exactly the same. So therefore, you have population that is not honoring the gender in which they inhabit. Now, you might say, okay, so what's going on right now? There's gender confusion. Oh, I'm 8 years old. I feel different. Oh, I'm 14. I feel different. Okay, so when you were 14, everybody felt different. You all felt like you weren't understood. You all felt like you had some, strange thing going on with you, that your body wasn't going in the direction you wanted it to go in. This is normal. Absolutely normal. But now it's converted to, oh, you're the wrong gender. They're taking it a step further. You're the wrong gender. So therefore, well, let's confuse you even more. So now you're going to hate both the male and the female in you. Win-win for them. So, this process of anchoring in the divine feminine is also about anchoring in the divine masculine. They cannot be one or the other. If you come in as a woman, your biggest thing at the moment is to honor the divine feminine. If you come in as a man, your biggest thing is to honor the divine masculine. And that's how evolution will step up. It's got nothing to do with gender confusion. That has been created. And we'll tell you something. Some of that is also created by the injections that they're giving children when they're little. They have, what do you say? They have the cells and the DNA of fetuses, right? In these injections. So if you have a little girl that's injected with the little boy's genetic makeup within that vaccine, something will happen.
But would you say that's obviously the soul seems to have free? Well, I was going to say the soul seems to have free will, but actually, what I mean is the soul seems to understand the process of what it's coming into this incarnation for or with, and it's almost it's all done with free will, isn't it? From the soul's perspective, when it incarnates, it's aware of what some of the journey that it's going to be on. So,
absolutely, but it's aware in spirit. When it comes into the physical, it's a whole different matter, right? So when you are in spirit, you're very clear. Oh yes, I can cope with that. Yeah, yes, I will do that. The moment you come into a physical body and the veil is present, you've forgotten where you're from, who you are, etc. It then becomes a journey.
But a journey that was taken with knowing it before it.
Consent, yes.
Yeah.
With consent. And you have many souls that are coming in, that have been coming in actually in these past years, of a higher vibration already, that are teaching their parents and the people around them.
Right. Yeah, I see that more and more.
So there is a lot going on, but this we would say it's a battle that's going on for the planet and for your soul, right? So let's put it to you this way. We said to you that God's light holds the, let's say, laws, the conditions, etc., the reality of both dark and light. It allows both for reasons. And these coexist under the fifth dimension. So that's the learning period. They coexist. After the fifth dimension, which you're going into, they separate. Doesn't mean they don't exist. So the dark exists in its realms and the light exists in its realms. But under the fifth, they coexist. The fifth dimension that everyone is really wanting to go into is a bridge. It's not a very big dimension. If you look, there's the physical dimension is quite big, it's huge. The emotional dimension is, which is the second dimension, is not so big. And the planet went through that when you think about Neanderthals and right animals in that. Okay, so then you have the third dimension, it's very big. That's the mental dimension. Mental physical reality. It's all about physical reality, but it's everything is created from the mental physical connection. So then you have the fourth dimension, which is also that can be sort of it's quite big as well. But the fourth dimension is psychic, it's energetic, it's understanding that physical matter is also energy. You are energy. Everything has an energy structure. It's not good or bad, it's just energy, right? So you can go to a psychic that's completely evil and you can go to a psychic that's completely good, right? Just because someone's psychic doesn't mean that they're good, right? Because they're both existing in that reality. And there's battles that go on in that reality, psychic attack, all of this sort of thing. But when the fifth is a bridge. It's a passageway through to the sixth. And so when you get into the fifth, you cannot take darkness with you. No, you will not go. So when we see these people who say, "Oh yes, I'm in the fifth, I'm all lovely," but they're being dishonest financially, or they're doing something not so ethical, let's say. There's no way they're in the fifth. No way. They might look pretty and have all the gadgets around them, but they're not. Right? To go into the fifth, which is what the challenge is right now, whether male or female, is to understand your gender, to accept it. Right? Just to accept it. I am in the feminine. This is my role. I don't want to be a man. I don't want to go, chop down the trees and all of these things. This competitiveness needs to go. You've chosen in this lifetime to be in the feminine principle, accept it. See what we're saying? Then you go through initiations, and many have. You get these initiations from your spirit guides, from God. And these are different initiations of integrity, honesty, greed, all of these things, right? You go through these initiations. Once you've been through those initiations and you're definitely surrendered to God's light, you go into the fifth. A lot of people are in the fifth, out of the fifth, in the fifth, out of the fifth. And this has been happening for a while. 1 foot in, 1 foot out. You've got to make up your mind what you want. You see, people say, I want to go, I want to go into the light. I want to be a light being. I want to go there. But I'm afraid of the government and I have to do this and I have to do. What's that? That's an attachment to a dark energy. It's a response to a dark energy. So how can you be in? That's what brings you out. What brings you out is all this folly that's going on. Be afraid of the Russians. Be afraid of the Ukrainians. Be afraid of the Chinese. Be afraid of the Muslims. Be afraid of this. Be afraid of that,
Yeah. Well, thank you for that. I really appreciate everything that you've said there as well, because in the background as well as you're coming out with that, I'm just thinking for my news network, just ideas that I want to present on there as well through different ways, and the divine feminine is definitely one of them. So I thank you for that, and I'm sure it was very useful for many other people as well. So,
and masculine, which is you know, the masculine energy is being portrayed as something very dark. So no wonder you have men who don't want to be in the masculine, because it means being abusive. It means being, competitive. It means being unintegral, not caring about what other people think. All of the symbols of the masculine are that of people who are wealthy and ruthless. So if you want wealth as a man, but you don't like that, you're not going to get wealth, because you don't want to be ruthless, because that's the reality you think wealth comes from.
right. But it doesn't have to. Absolutely.
No, it doesn't have to. Absolutely. You can disconnect from that. That's what we're saying. Own who you are. It's an interesting thing, because at a moment, what you're all being asked to do is choose a side. We're not talking male or female here. We're talking about light or dark. Choose a side. Yeah. You're being asked to choose a side. And with this alignment that's happening, there's a quickening that's happening with that. And yes, there is a lot of darkness showing itself as a result, because the more light you allow within you, the more truth you allow within you, the stronger your vibration, the shinier it goes on the dark. See, the dark, if you look at what's been going on, the dark's been hidden. It's been hidden for a long time in the background, right? But now it's suddenly showing itself.
That is so true. I could take that message, and even for what I'm doing with my other docuseries, with my true crime, secret space program docuseries, in a sense, I could say that for, people within my own industry as well. They're showing themselves. It's being shown, and that's for so many different sort of other ways to look at that as well. In so many other feels out there, just the things that are going on right now in different circles. It's the same energy that's being as you say, being exposed. I'm saying that word, but showing itself in a sense. Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely. And so this is the beautiful thing. If you realize the power that you have, you will find that in your terms, miracles will happen for you. When you realize how powerful you actually are. We're not talking about power in the sense of crush the opponent, we're not talking about that power. We're talking about the empowerment of your light, the empowerment of your heart, the empowerment of your truth to know when something is dark. And all you need to do is say, there's no place for you here. Leave.
But a lot of people have lost that discernment, haven't they?
Well, because their minds have been played with. That's why we're saying, in the education system, in religion, in media, in everything. Look at the music. The music has changed in 30 years, right? So when 30 years ago, you listen to music, make you want to dance, make you want to sing along, make you feel good. Now you listen to music, it's very dark, it's very deep, it's very, kill this person was shot. It's showing you images of demons and blood and all of this sort of high sexuality, and it's not pleasant. Who wants to look at that? But people, it's going into their psyche.
But that's just where we're at right now. Do you know what I mean? And
we can tell you there is a movement that's just like yourself, right? There is a movement that's happening, that is growing, that is going to bring about new music, new movies, new news, new everything. That movement has happened, and it's going to grow really fast. Why? Because people are fed up with the darkness. They want the light.
But can I ask you, do you think there's light in the dark?
Well, that's a very good question, because what we know is that there are levels, right? So say, for instance, you've got some person who is, let's take a dark situation, a pimp who's pimping out prostitutes, making money off women, bashing them if they don't work enough. Is he completely dark? Probably not. There is some light in him that could move over, change his life, right? So there's light in him. But what has made him dark is the belief that he has no power, so he has to have power over others, that the only way that he can get money is through abuse, right? So it's something he learned. It's something that's being taught to him. This is how you do it. And maybe he was not very strong mentally, so he was easily manipulated. Let's say that. He wasn't well educated, and this is the way he was educated. So that's what happened. But is there light in him? Yes, there is. Is there an opportunity for him to come fully into the light? Absolutely. There are also those, well, our daughter has come across them, those who have worshipped the devil, literally, been part of, basically killing people in ceremonies, sacrificing people who have gone into the light. So yes, that can happen, but this is the different thing. They are in a sort of an early stage of darkness. They may be young souls. They're in an early stage of darkness. They can then go into different levels of darkness, just as you go into different levels of light and service. So once they get to the demonic stage, no, they don't. No, that's it. They've taken it completely. It's not possible. But if they are not, like, there are those what you call transmortals. They are the young demons in training. They can still be influenced, let's say. Now, the influence comes from, and you're seeing it playing out in your politics, who's going to give me the best deal? Right? Where am I going to get the most money from, the dark or the light? That's going to influence them. Where am I going to feel the most power? Because that's why people go into dark, because they feel powerless. And they feel power and control. So yeah, certain levels, no, they can't come back. But other levels, yes, they can.
Well, if there's any sort of final message that you might like to give, Kassandra, to the audience, everything you've said there is very, very powerful, very, very interesting, and I really appreciate you giving us your energy here right now as well.
Well, we would thank you for that. And what we will say to you is this. Stay very clear on your journey, because you are bringing about a change that is desperately needed at this. And more will join with you in collaboration, not competition, collaboration. That's going to be the key. The more of you that can join together, the stronger the united frequency will be. And this is why all of this is happening on the planet right now, is to actually bring you together, regardless of your backgrounds, your genders, your sexual preferences, whatever it may be.
That gives me goosebumps. That does. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much for that.
You're most welcome, because this is going to be the thing that helps. And in saying that, there is the battle is the full battle is just starting to show itself. So don't be afraid. Stay centered in who you are. surrender to God in the best way that you can. One nice way is just to open the palms of your hands, close your eyes, and simply state, God, my heart is open to you. Come, sit in my heart. And just repeat that. God, my heart is open to you. Come, sit in my heart. And just do that in a daily, way to bring about the peace. And when someone offers you something, just don't say yes straight away. Don't say no straight away. Just sit on it for a moment and see how you feel. Give yourself time to independently feel it. Because when someone is saying something to you, when someone is presenting, you are receiving their energy at that time, and it can feel exciting. It can feel something, but you need to return back to your own energy to know if it's right for you. So unity consciousness is all about being in your own sovereignty, your own frequency, but joining together when it's right for you to co-create. So if someone says, would you like to make a movie with me? And you go, yeah, what part of it shall I do? You don't suddenly take over it and, override that other person's idea. You're in sync with that person and you're helping them to produce what their vision is. That's unity consciousness. It's not ego. It's I'm helping you produce your vision. What's your vision? Tell me what your vision is. We will just finish on this. Our daughter, the body that we use, often runs these groups. And one of the things that she would encourage people as friends to do is this. So you're a group of friends and you've all got your ideas of what you want. You say to each other, okay, what does that look like for you? What does the finished product look like for you? And that person will say, well, it looks like this. Okay, every time I think of you and when I meditate, I'm going to see that with you. Because now I'm helping you get what you want. I'm not interfering. I'm not giving my idea. I'm not giving my energy of what I think it should be done. I'm just amplifying yours. And you do that for each other. And then it comes so that the people that come towards you are happy to help your vision. And then maybe next time they might say to you, I've got the vision. Oh, okay, what can I do for you? Right? It's like this. And this is unity consciousness. Some people think unity consciousness is living in a commune. Sharing clothes, sharing everything. No, you have to know who you are. Know thyself first. Know yourself first. And when you do give, you give with complete abandonment, willingly, lovingly, 100%, no resentment, no greed, no ego. I'm just giving. And then when you're open and you're giving like that, you will receive with the same frequency. Everything is in balance, male and female, giving and receiving.
Well, thank you very, very much. I just want to say that.
You're most welcome. So it has been a pleasure to share with you, and we thank you for allowing our daughter to bring out her voice also.
Until next time, thank you. Most definitely.
In our love and our light and our truth and our blessings. And we thank you so much for allowing us to share in your beautiful energy this day. Goodbye. Well,
Susan, that was a really interesting session from Kassandra there. That's another one that I'll be watching back and going back over, because there was especially about the divine feminine as well. That was so important. That hit a lot of kind of home runs for me in a sense. Do you know what I mean? Just with what I'm doing right now. So that was pretty deep. So just for the audience, one more time, Susan, your website is
lovelightandtruth.com.
Okay.
There is one with .au, but that's not mine. It's .com.
.com. Okay. Well, that's been coming up on the screen, and again, links to anything that we've mentioned within the show is in the description box for the YouTube video. And Susan, I just want to say thank you so much for giving us over 2 hours of your time, which was not planned, and to give us, your journey, your work, and that wonderful channeling message as well. Just thank you so much for coming on.
Hey, listen, you're welcome, and thank you for allowing me to come on. It's a big thing for me to out myself like this. Anyway, thank you, and have a beautiful day. Good sleep, good day, and we'll speak soon.